Blessings and namaste, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic astrologer, and medium Sette. Once again, thank you for sharing this time with me. This month, I'm creating this video from the mystical moon. Right now, I'm in the Bonita Springs location. I've been here in Florida for just over 2 weeks now. I'm actually wrapping up my time here. These are my last couple of days, and these moments seem to just go by so very quickly. I'm actually already looking ahead to the April time frame where I will be back in the middle of April, and probably once I confirm those dates, which will most likely be in January, certainly myself and Lori, we will share that information with you. I have enjoyed a wonderful time here as always. It's such a blessing to sit with everyone and talk about these wonderful things that we're all experiencing in these amazing, unprecedented times. We begin December with the Mercury retrograde. We've been in Mercury retrograde since November 17th, and Mercury will move direct on December 6th. And I always emphasize that not until Mercury fully moves out of what we call the shadow phase, that's the point where once Mercury moves direct, it needs a little bit of time to regain its speed, and not until it's fully functional, fully moving forward in its orbit, are we completely out of the effects. And that period, that shadow period, is until December 24th. So move ahead with caution, especially as we're going into the holiday season. We're already in the holiday season, but very much we become consumed with the planning, the shopping, and all of that. So certainly keep all of this in the back of your mind. Do not allow any sort of delays or hiccups to really interfere with the joy of this season, because the season is really about remembering joy, returning to light, embracing joy, especially remembering the light that is already inside every one of us. As I said, we do begin with the Mercury retrograde phase, which is in effect until December 6th, and the shadow phase is until December 24th, Christmas Eve. On December 3rd, we begin the balsamic moon phase of the lunar cycle, and that is the period that prepares us for the next lunar cycle with the new moon, which will be on December 7th. December 3rd is the beginning of the balsamic moon phase. It's a period of cleansing, clearing, purging, preparing us for the next lunar cycle. And one of the points that I would like to touch upon is to allow yourself to recognize if you are having any experiences, or rather any opportunities, where there is a necessity to release any and old outworn emotions, emotional conditions that may no longer serve a purpose. We are noticing that many of us are having experiences of the recollection of emotional experiences from the past, which sometimes, unless they are properly addressed, unless those cords are properly dissolved and healed, those conditions, those elements still very much play in the background in our lives, and sometimes they do factor into delaying some of our experiences. And when we have the opportunity to recognize if there is still something lingering in the background there, to have the courage to reflect on it, clear it, and finally release it. And the balsamic moon phase is the favorable, optimal time for doing just that. Now, the new moon is on December 7th, and the new moon is in the sign of Sagittarius. And this new moon, as was our new moon in November, is right in the middle of Sagittarius. It's at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. That midpoint of any sign, it's a power point. It's a very strong element of the astrological range of the astrological sign. Excuse me. The midpoint is a power point. The energies are very much strengthened at that point. And in one of my forecasts, I use the analogy of, if we look at an arc bridge, the top center point of the arc, that has to be the strongest point. If that's the weakest link in that connection, then the structure will have a compromise in the strength of its integrity. And the same thing applies when we look at these cycles of experience. The midpoint is a very powerful, strong point. Just like the midpoint between two objects astrologically has a significance. The sign Sagittarius, as I've said many times, connects us with our higher mind. Its opposite sign, which is Gemini, that represents communication, but communication of the mundane, the third dimensional experiences, our lower frequency vibrational thoughts. Sagittarius is the sign of the higher mind, which every one of us has this connection with our higher self, our higher mind, which is that part of us that exists in the spirit realm that does not have any interferences from the third dimensional realm of consciousness. And when we allow this connection to be fully clear and vibrant, we receive much inspiration and insight from our higher self and our higher mind. The sign Sagittarius is the sign of inspirations, the sign of higher knowing, higher insights, philosophies, religion. And at this new moon, it's a favorable time to strengthen that connection with the higher mind and allow ourselves to receive the guidance and the inspiration that comes through from the spirit realm. The sign Sagittarius also connects with publishing. Those of us who are endeavoring towards completing a publishing project, perhaps if you are at that point of completion, it's a favorable time to move forward with the publishing process. The sign Sagittarius also connects with higher media, such as radio, television, and those forms of broadcasting. We do have somewhat of what most would consider to be an adverse influence from Neptune to the sign, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. Personally, I don't observe really anything astrologically to be adverse when we fully understand the higher vibrational opportunities that we can engage in with any alignment, any sign, any aspect whatsoever. The way that Neptune aligns with the new moon, it's a 90-degree angle. Astrologically, that is a square aspect. That in and of itself indicates a moment, a time of change. That suggests that we are being given opportunities to continually change our lower vibrational thoughts, which many times can be very limiting and not fully allow us to think abstractly. When we allow ourselves to think and to pursue from an abstract point of view, then the realm of possibilities become that much more open to us, and we receive guidance. The placement of Neptune to the new moon, because Neptune is the psychic faculties, it's the spirit realm, it's a favorable time to receive communication from spirit through our higher mind. And I always emphasize whenever we engage upon these communications with the spirit realm that we first and foremost are asked to keep ourselves clear, keep our energy fields clear, remain grounded and anchored with the energies of the earth. Because when we deal with Neptune, whenever there is a presence, the influence of Neptune in any element, in any composition, and I've said this many times, Neptune also has the potential to be very nebulous. It can create confusion, deception. We have those lesser experiences when we observe all things from the physical world with the physical eyes. Neptune inspires us to go within, to meditate, to become very, very clear within ourselves. Whenever Neptune does create confusion, it can also at times bring us great clarity if we facilitate the process. And I always have to emphasize that we have a free will and spirit cannot override that. Spirit cannot cause us to really work on ourselves energetically to remain clear so that we receive higher guidance, higher knowing from the spirit realm. So as we move through these times, be very aware to keeping yourself very clear and very grounded. And once again, with that Neptune influence, much information coming from the outside world can be very convoluted and can create the element of deception and confusion. So proceed with caution. We always proceed with caution whenever Neptune is present, because whenever, as I said, whenever we observe anything with the physical eyes in the physical world, it can potentially bring confusion, and deception. These are times for us to go within, remain anchored, strongly anchored with the energies of the earth, and becoming very clear within our own physical being so that spirit can lovingly guide us with clarity. Remember, all things, most things from the outside world in these times may potentially create confusion. And as I said, Sagittarius is the sign of higher broadcasting, like the media, radio, television, and from that influence by Neptune, it can create confusion in those realms. So proceed with caution. Remember, this information, it may be designed to keep us in a state of confusion and uncertainty. However, Spirit desires for us to be inspired and enlightened. That's where we can receive the clarity, when we facilitate the process by allowing ourselves to remain clear and very, very grounded with the energies of the earth. The new moon is also a new beginning. Earlier I mentioned publishing. If any of us have the desires of progressing and endeavoring towards a publishing project, this new moon is a favorable time to do just that as well. Also, if there's anything that you are uncertain of, if you do desire to pursue that endeavor, just allow yourself at the time of the balsamic moon to receive any clarity regarding what might need to be resolved so that you can proceed with those endeavors as well. As I said, the new moon is on December 7th, and the exact time of the new moon is 2:20 a.m. Now we have on December 21st is the winter solstice. We are very much moving into the times when the days appear, or rather daylight seems to be much less. The days seem to move by even much quicker. This is a time to, as I always like to touch upon during this time of the year, that it's a time for us to return to light. The winter solstice, Yule, that is a celebration of the return to light, when after that point, the length of daylight begins to increase just slightly every day. However, as we move through the winter months, it's a time of germination. It's a time for us to plant seeds. Just like in the song The Rose, how it illustrates how far beneath the bitter snow lies the seed that in the springtime becomes the rose. That is very much how we can make the most of the winter months. It's a time to go within, to more so go within, plant some seeds. The winter is also a favorable time for spring cleaning, ironically, especially in the last month of winter, the last month leading up to the vernal equinox, beginning on February 21st, so that when spring does begin, we begin with a clean slate. I always emphasize the last month of winter, let that be that time of spring clearing and cleansing, so that when we do begin the spring time frame, we begin with a clean slate. Whenever we begin a new cycle of experience, we are always given an opportunity to clean the slate and fully prepare for that next cycle of experience when we understand how to make the most of the energies. The winter time frame, for me, I observe the winter days to be some of the most beautiful. We notice that in the winter time frame, the sunrises and the sunsets are the most dramatic and colorful. And it's kind of like Spirit's way of letting us know actually how much life really is very present during the winter months. We just need to remember that. As we celebrate, as I said, as we celebrate the return to light, we could also use this time to remember and return to light and love within ourselves. And it really doesn't matter which holiday we celebrate at this time. All the holidays, the bottom line with all the holidays is that it is a return to light, as well as, and I would add to that, it's a return to love. And let's first and foremost do that within ourselves. And incidentally, our full moon in December also coincides in close proximity with the winter solstice. The exact moment of the winter solstice is December 21st. 1st, and that's 5:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our full moon is on December 22nd at 12:48 p.m. Eastern Time. And the full moon is in the sign of Cancer. The full moon is always in the sign opposite of the sun. The sun is in the sign of Capricorn that it progressed into at the time of the winter solstice. The full moon is in the sign of Cancer. And it's at the first early stages of Cancer. Cancer connects us with family and our home life. If you are having any discordant energies, experiences, anything unbalanced in your home, this coming full moon, it's a favorable, optimal time to release all of those imbalances and discordant energy. Remember, a full moon, it's a time of fruition. It's also a favorable time of releasing as well. So if there's anything in your homes, for that matter, that needs to just be released, especially energetically, the full moon is a favorable, optimum opportunity to do just that. And also, too, we may notice that we are given perhaps more opportunity, especially as we go through the winter months, to go within. It's also an indication, because our homes are reflections of all that we set in motion from within ourselves. The home is a representation, is a reflection of all the energy which is present in the home, created by all the occupants in the home. It was the prophet Kahil Gibran who said that our home is our larger body. This full moon, it's a great time to recognize, okay, my home is a reflection of myself, as well as all the energy that I am setting in motion, as well as a culmination of all the occupants who reside in the home, of their energy that they're setting in motion as well. If you have children in your home, and perhaps there are some conditions that need to be corrected with their home, with your children, if they're behaving imbalanced, if they're acting out, first and foremost, to correct that, reflect on whatever may be happening energetically in your home and create it from that point. This full moon, it's a favorable time to really recognize that the home is our sanctuary, and it needs to be a place of peacefulness and a place for us to, at the end of the day, to go home, to collect ourselves, to rejuvenate, to replenish ourselves. If your home does not facilitate that process for you, recognize at this full moon what needs to be corrected, and have the courage to observe that and move forward and implement any corrections, any rebalancing of energy that needs to take place in your home, especially at this time of the full moon. Also, too, we will be made known if there is any imbalanced energy that is taking place within our homes, or on an emotional level as well. The full moon, being in the sign of Cancer, connects us with emotions, as I mentioned earlier, with the balsamic moon. Favorable time to release any imbalanced emotions. At this full moon, we may be shown very clearly if there are any emotional imbalances which need to be corrected as well. We also may feel emotionally charged, especially as we approach the holidays. And with the full moon being in the sign of Cancer in the family, certainly we will be surrounded by much family during the time of the holidays, which for some of us can be very overwhelming. And so that you don't need to avoid contending with family members. Allow yourself to just kind of shield yourself before having any of those interactions, and truly enjoy the experiences that you're having with family, especially during these times. You know, it is a favorable element to really recognize the strength of the family unit as we move through these times. And if there's anything compromising the strength of that unit, let yourself recognize that and allow yourself the courage to correct wherever there may be any imbalances with that element specifically. Also, too, we have a Mars Neptune alignment coming up, and that's going to be a little bit closer to the time of the new moon. When 2 points come together, we call that in astrological terms a conjunction, which is a new moon. Just as the sun and the moon come together at the same space and time once a month, whenever two elements come together, it's like a new moon. It indicates a new beginning. And also, too, it can heighten some of the elements of the two which are coming together. And with Neptune and Mars being energy, Neptune being the psychic realm, we may notice a surge in psychic phenomena, perhaps. But with that, I suggest to recognize the surge that's coming together within yourselves regarding your own connection with spirit. You may find yourselves being that much more sensitive to the energy of your surroundings. But that experience, especially if anyone is endeavoring towards any type of holistic healing modalities such as Reiki or massage, and incorporating energy work with massage, that is a favorable time to really begin pursuing those endeavors. That will be more so in close proximity to around the time of the new moon. That energy, I forgot to touch upon a little bit earlier, is very much exacting at the time of the new moon. So that will be precisely exact, probably about the day after the new moon on December 8th, 9th, within that time frame. As I always emphasize, that there are so many alignments that take place in any given month, even within any given day. There literally could be thousands of elements coming together, but we just touch upon those that are the most significant. I also let myself recognize whatever it is that I am guided to touch upon within a given time. And as I said, we offer somewhat general insights to all of this. If you understand how to apply it more specifically to the points in your chart, then you'll have a better understanding as to how to make the most of these energies. So as always, I trust that this information inspires you on your spiritual journey to have the courage to embrace whatever spirit might be showing you regarding your own path and purpose, and to embrace that. You know, those who have followed my writings for many years, I always touch upon how we really are in the times of the apocalypse and revelations, but that certainly is not intended to create fear. These times are designed for us to really to remember, for us to recognize how we are being revealed to each and every one of us, our higher self, where we've come from, as well as our purpose and our path. And when we have the courage to embrace this information, Spirit will clearly, lovingly, effortlessly share with us all its wonderful information. However, we need to allow Spirit to do just that. Spirit can't override our free will, and Spirit can't cause us to really engage in whatever activities will allow us to receive this clarity. So as we move through this time of light, this season of all-encompassing, profound love, allow yourselves first and foremost to embrace that love, that element of profound love within yourselves first. And once we allow ourselves to have that experience, then we begin to see love in all our experiences. And when we approach all things from a place of love, with detachment and discernment, then we are able to really see the higher truth and clarity in all experiences that are unfolding. So once again, I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Ray Sette. I thank you for sharing this time with me. I offer a humble gratitude And thanks to Lori for creating the sacred spaces that she has created, as well as all those who have come to me and placed your trust in me, more importantly in spirit, in guiding you on your spiritual journey. These days move by very, very quickly, and I certainly look forward to spending and enjoying, rather, time with you again very soon. Until then, stay in the light and always in a place of love. Namaste and many blessings, everyone.